on to the valedictory address for the conference. Harikiranji, would you like to?
Yeah, just wanted to welcome Rajiv. Rajiv, thank you so much for honoring us and coming onto our platform. Very, very grateful to you. Thank you.
I'll read out a small introduction, though it is actually not required. Rajiv Malhotra was trained initially as a physicist and then as a computer scientist, specializing in artificial intelligence in the 1970s. After a successful corporate career in the US, he became an entrepreneur and founded and ran several IT companies in 20 countries. He exited all for-profit activities in the early 1990s. As the founder of his non-profit Infinity Foundation in Princeton, USA, he has, on a full-time basis, been researching civilizations from a historical, social sciences, and mind sciences perspective. He has authored several best-selling books. Infinity Foundation has also published a 14-volume series on the history of Indian science and technology. This introduction, in fact, was not required because there is none in the Hindu circles and Indic circles who doesn't know Shri Rajiv ji. Over to you, Shri Rajiv.
Namaste, Hariji and Nagaraj ji. Thank you for inviting this and thank you for organizing this wonderful event. You know, I wish I had gotten up much earlier and tuned in, because I only heard the last few talks, Nagaraj's talks and the lady who was just there before me, Dr. Sushumna Kannan, and they are brilliant talks, wonderful talks. In fact, I want to get to know Dr. Kannan, and I'm requesting that she contact me, because so I don't have her contact details. Because a lot of things that she said I resonate with, and I'm also working on something similar. So I will basically divide my comments on this topic of Varna, Jaati, caste into past, present, and future. And I want to move on to future quickly, because a lot of people have talked about the past, interpretation of the past, decolonizing the interpretation of the past. I want to talk about what are we facing in the present, and mainly I want to raise issues about the future, which is the subject of my next set of writings, my books that I'm trying to finish up now. And these issues I'm raising are very provocative, so bear with me. I will. Unfortunately, I apologize in advance, but I will offend some people, because I will raise some possibilities that may not be, you might surprise you. So, but let me first clear the past quickly, because the reason I want to do it quickly is because I think a lot is being said about the past, and correcting the misinterpretations, which has to be done, which is very important. So we just came out with a book which is called Varna, Jaati, Caste, and it's mainly past. There is some hint about issues taking us into the future, which I'm now developing into a whole book of major work. But the reason for writing this book is, while so much is written by experts, we need a toolkit. We need a simple. So this is 150 page. It's the smallest book I've ever written. It's meant for children, school children, mothers. You go to some place and somebody abuses your caste system, and there are some laws. Every day there's a new municipality in the US where they are enacting anti-caste laws, and Hindus don't know what to do. Do we join them and start hating ourselves, or do we defend without knowing how to defend? So people are saying this and that, and what is true, what is not true. Gurus are confused. You go to the Hindu temple, because people expect, in the Abrahamic religions, people expect that if you have a question on Islam, you go to the Imam, he'll tell you. Or you go to Christianity, you go to the local church, and the priest is well trained. He's trained to evangelize and argue. Or you go to a rabbi for Judaism. But in the case of Hinduism, you go to a purohit in a local temple. He's doing rituals, and he doesn't know. He's not a debater, discussant. He's not trained like that. And so, and often he'll give you misinformation. I've come through that. So this is why the Hindus, especially in the diaspora, are confused. But I would say the same problem is in India also. I go there a lot, and I find my relatives, my friends, these are well-educated people from good universities and good professions, and they have no excuse. There's no excuse for them to be so ignorant, but they're ignorant. So this book is a little book which is like a toolkit. Basically, the thesis in this book, what we are trying to show with evidence that is highly quotable, that you can quote these sources. First, we are saying that caste abuse, in the modern sense, as the way it has been stereotyped and stigmatized as a very abusive system. These are not practices that are a necessary part of, they are not necessary or sufficient part of Hinduism. In other words, you do not have to practice any of this to be a Hindu, and nor is it in the other direction that being a Hindu forces you into these practices. So this decoupling of from the Vedic tradition is one of the main things that we are doing in this book. So whatever you want to argue about the abusiveness, those are problems that we should solve. There are problems of racism in Christianity. There are problems of racism in Islam, but you don't go to the core and say, let's dismantle the whole structure. You don't, which is the problem that we are facing now, because the opposing side has conflated modern problems with ancient system, and said that it is impossible to cure these problems without killing the whole system. So therefore, you have this dismantling Hindutva and dismantling this and that happening. So a major purpose of this book is to decouple the two and say, okay, we acknowledge every society has problems. Indian society has problems. There are good Hindus, there are bad Hindus. Not everybody is a Sattvic fellow. There are a lot of Tamasic people. There is dharma and there is adharma. That is true in the Mahabharata also. But the fact that there are adharmic people does not mean that the Vedas are no longer valid. It just means that certain people are not complying. So this decoupling is a major part. We also argue that and show that this Varna Jaati has been fluid across time, across place. So the traditions, in fact, Manusmriti also says that what is relevant and good and appropriate and practiced in one place may not be for another place, and also for situational. It is very situational. And then an important point, which will be important when we talk about the future. There are multiple hierarchies. It is not like there's one universal hierarchy. You cannot say that Brahmins are above this. You go to a Shudra community. Within that Shudra community of whatever they are doing, there is a hierarchy internally among them. Some are better than others, some are higher than others, including all of them within themselves. So it is not across Varna and Jatis that there's a hierarchy. There is a hierarchy of human beings internally, and this raises the question of this modern wokeist idea of equity, which says there should be equal outcomes. Is that contrary to human nature? Is that contrary to the nature of reality? Because, if you look at equity, well, some people are taller than others. This is true of animals. This is true of birds and true of flowers. Some trees are taller than others. So if you are looking for equity, meaning equal outcome in performance, then you should also apply to physical performance. I'm a short guy compared to blacks who are taller. So in basketball, they'll score more points than I will. So I should be complaining that this is a racial bias because the rules of basketball are biased against people like me who are not as tall as they are. But the fact is that it is a principle of nature. It's a principle of reality that there is inequality of characteristics, physical characteristics, mental characteristics. So in the same way, some people may be better at mathematics than others. So why is that a violation of any human rights? Some people just are. So this business of multiple hierarchies is sort of an important point made in this book. And then what we are doing in this book is saying that you have to see the Indian social structure, the Vedic social structure, in the context of what the Vedas consider to be the goal of life, the Purusharthas of life. So if you start with the Western Purusharthas, which is maximizing consumerism, consumer consumption and whatnot, you cannot then say, okay, the Indian social structure is not going to achieve that, because it was not designed to achieve that. It was designed to achieve something else. And we have to first understand what is the purpose and goal of life And then examine the Varna system, Varna Jati system, as to whether or not it achieves that, whether it optimizes the probability of success of those goals which the Vedic tradition says we ought to have. So that's the past, and all I want to say about the past. Present, and then we'll go to future. Present is that the crisis we are facing is in the context of wokeism. That is the crisis we're facing. The crisis we are facing is in the context of critical race theory, which has become critical caste theory. And I've been talking about this for 3 years now. We've written this book last year. But people are still wondering, was this sensational? Is it a conspiracy theory? The point is, how much evidence do you need? You have your Supreme Court Chief Justice Chandrachud constantly bringing this out, wokeism out. Constantly, you have these Harvard-trained people bringing these things out into the Indian university system and so on. And you have one township after another in the United States enacting these kind of laws, legal kind of situations. So I think it would be foolish to keep sleeping about this. So once you wake up and understand that this is the reality of the social issue that we are facing today, this whole wokeism, this critical race theory, critical caste theory, and so on, then you have to look at reality, today's reality. It's not a past issue, it's a present issue. You have to deal with it. So as responsible people who are leaders, all of you are leaders in society, you give guidance to other people who look at you as scholars. You have to address this issue of Varna Jati caste in the context of what are we facing today. And these are reality, but not what we ought to be. There's a difference between how things ought to be and how things are. So we should, when we're facing contemporary reality, it's how things are. This may not be how things ought to be, but this is how things are. Like a doctor has to look at, okay, this is the reality of the patient, what do I do? Not how it ought to have been. So the reality is that wokeism is spreading, and it is likely to continue spreading. It is the largest and most powerful export of the United States. It is breaking America. Actually, the title of my book is Breaking America, which I put on hold, and I want to finish it. But first, I want to get on with my social theory of Indian Vedic social theory book that I'm really deep into. But I put this on hold. I was writing this book on Breaking America because the point is that the American society is being broken up from within. And China, of course, is not having this breaking China happening within. They're very together. And as a gigantic machine, the largest machine, human social machine, social political machine ever in history, that is what China has become. This is very aggressive. And so it's going to have a huge ramification on the United States, because the United States at the wrong time has started questioning, wokist ideas like, do we put equity in the military? I mean, this is stupid. Do we now there are people, even in fundamental research like physics and aerospace, people are finding it difficult to get jobs based on merit, because the diversity, equity, inclusion HR department there has been told that you have to practice equity, which means you got to bring in people of certain identity, quotas. It's what we in India call quotas. And so now, in the interest of equity is a quota system basically. Scientific American, such a prestigious journal, is taking articles based on what is the social implication of this theory of galaxies and black holes, and how many points, like you have carbon footprint points on what is the environmental impact. There is this diversity, equity, inclusion points. There is an index developed. And so your paper and your article and your background has to be now judged not on the merit from a scientific point of view, but from the DEI point of view. This is bizarre. This is absolutely bizarre. And you wonder what happened to the United States, which is the home of meritocracy. And the whole country's greatness, which I really admire, has been built on being the center of meritocracy and allowing anybody, everybody, whoever it is, doesn't matter who the hell you are. If you are if you have merit, you'll advance. That's how people like me advanced, and so many Indians advanced based on entirely merit and nothing else. But things are changing now. This is a new disease, and it's not going away. It's getting worse. So you are finding that as part of this disease, a lot of irresponsible people are taking advantage of it. I'll give you an example. Khalistanis in Canada. Khalistani as Jat people, they're Jat people. They are not poor in Punjab. They are the farmers and they are the richest farming community in India. And they are driving BMWs and Mercedes and all kind of stuff. They're living a good life materially. So the Punjabi Jat is by no means an oppressed person. But what has happened is there is this, under wokeism, under critical race theory, there is a category called protected classes, protected categories. It started with blacks being considered officially in the legal system as protected class, which means that they are entitled to certain privileges and because of the oppression against them. And they have a more right to free speech than their opponents. They can cancel you because they are protected. So now what has happened is the protected has expanded to Muslims, become protected. Imagine that in after 9/11, Muslims in the United States were on the run. They were hiding. They didn't know where to go because there was all this clamor against Islam and so on. But I'm doing a four-part series I've recorded, which I have not edited yet. That four-part series will talk about how Islam turned around its positioning in the United States from being considered the world's oppressor and terrorist and whatnot to being a protected class. Now it is like protected like blacks. They've come together. And how it happened, why it happened, who funded it, why we were sleeping while it was happening. You know, these are very important points I'm going to make in a four-part video series by somebody who's, I don't want to name, is a very, very well-known person in this field, fighting this from various places. And I don't want to name this because people will try to interfere. So this, when it comes out, you will understand this whole scam, this whole sham of who gets to be protected class. And so if you get yourself to be protected class and call yourself Khalistani, the Canadian government has special visas for you. There's a special visa quota for people who've been designated as protected class, and they have worked very hard in their legal system and funded MPs and funded all kind of stuff. And our side has been sleeping for the last 10 years. And now the Khalistanis have considered that Khalistan is a matter of free speech and exercising their free political right within Canada and various other countries, of course, also. But I only know about Canada. I've done my study there. So, and that is because the Jats are a protected class because they are being oppressed in India, and they've come up with various case studies here and there isolated, and nobody argued, nobody gave enough evidence against it, except emotionally here and there in like-minded groups. And, like we are a like-minded group today, our 100 people who are in this virtual conference in the, are kind of for like-minded people. But the idea is you have to go out of the comfort zone of like-minded people and just argue. You have to argue in front of, in places where you are alone, and you have to argue. And I've been doing that for a long time, and other people have to do it. Facing the situation where it really matters. We didn't do enough of that. So the Khalistanis were able to come up with a legal framework that the Jats in Punjab are an oppressed community. They must become a protected category in Canada, and therefore the legal provisions of special visa, fast track visa, is applicable to them. So what it means is that if you are in Punjab and you want to get a Canadian immigration, the way to get it is to declare yourself a Khalistani who is oppressed because of human rights problems in India, and this will get you a visa very quickly. Otherwise, you may have to wait for many years. And so there's a whole scam, a legal industry, lawyers in Canada who are looking for such clients. And if you have a relative in Punjab and you want to bring him to Canada, you introduce him to some legal firm, and they will coach him what he has to say, what he has to declare in his application. And when he goes to the Canadian High Commission, what he has to say, why he wants to go, because he's oppressed, blah, blah. So this is where the world has come to, okay? And of course, the Dalits have joined. by declaring themselves the blacks of India. Imagine, the Dalits have declared themselves the blacks of India. See, when there was this Bobby Jindal thing going on, I was criticizing them as people who become honorary whites for the sake of political advancement in America. So Bobby Jindal is this famous, honorary white. But guess what? Now there is greater premium if you can become honorary black, like Suraj Jengde in Harvard. You become honorary black. Wow, then now this whole, you're a protected class. Nobody's going to criticize you. You can cancel everybody. You have all kind of legal rights. So this is where things are. This is the present. Okay, this is the present, and it's a very serious situation. I don't think our Ministry of External Affairs have enough wherewithal to manage this. They are reactive, they're on the defensive, they're facing attacks here and there. I had nice lunch with the Indian Consul General in San Francisco, wonderful guy, nice host, but he didn't want to stick his neck out and do anything. He did know about it. It's not like I was educating him. He knew about it because before I went there, lots of other Indians had gone there. Lots of Silicon Valley Indians had gone there and said, we are facing this and that, and why don't you come in and do something? And he didn't want to do anything. I mean, he come up with all kind of reasons why, he's busy, whatever. This is true everywhere. The Indian government, whether it's the Culture Ministry, now the Ministry of External Affairs has this thing called Indian Council of Cultural Relations. And, they gave me an award. I'm very grateful to them. And Dr. Sahasra Buddhaji is a decent man, wonderful person. I'm saying thank you. Okay. But the point is, it's not about any person. It's about our community and our culture. The whole idea of ICCR is to project it, worldwide, our civilization. And the point is, if that were being done properly, then we would be making counter arguments. The kind of books I've done, they would be putting them out. They would be launching these books. They're not being interested in launching these books. My book, Snakes in the Ganga, they have not wanted to launch it, believe me. The Indian Consul General of New York came to New Jersey, where some people were launching my book. 1,100 people were present in this very big gala event. Some of you were, Nikunj was there. Some of you saw the video. The Indian Consul General came because of huge amount of pressure from the community that you have to come. This is a very important thing. So he came all the way from New York to attend this and give his comments, and the comments are in the video. The comments are very favorable. He's very supportive, okay? And then he leaves, but not wanting the same event happening inside the consulate, because that has different connotations and that requires different level of permission from Delhi. So, all this kind of thing is going on. I don't talk about it because it just creates more controversy, but you ought to know that the keepers of our tradition, be it the gurus, be it our scholars, be it our government, people, civic society, have not taken on enough responsibility to be proactive over the last 10 years, nor today, to deal with this problem of social issue, the attack on Indian civilization on social issues, which is where this Varna Jaati caste come in. Okay. Now it is individuals. Okay. So there's Nikunj doing it, and me and this bunch of us, as individuals doing it. And we continue doing it. Okay. And it makes an impact in terms of, getting support from good people like you. Because you are at some point in time, you must have said, hey, listen, these guys are sincere, and let's go help them, and let's read them, and let's propagate their ideas. So things start spreading. And over the past 30 years, we have created a lot of traction. I mean, there weren't groups like this 30 years ago. Nobody wanted to listen to me. Hindu Temple wouldn't want me to come and speak because I'd be controversial. I'd say things they don't want everybody to know. So they thought that the discussion on Hinduphobia would be something Hindu Temple shouldn't have. I mean, this sort of thing. And now we've come a long way. Now there's a waiting list of people wanting to invite and have events, and we can't even keep up with it. But that's at the popular level. But what about the government machinery level? That's a problem still. And I will leave it at that. So let me move on to future. I've talked about past, talked about the current dilemmas and situation we're facing. Now, here I want to raise some controversies. And please forgive me if I'm stepping beyond what I should say. But I'll just start by saying when I launched this book, Varna, Jaati, Caste, there's a video you should watch. I don't want to name those people, but you can watch them in the video. There are a couple of events that happened, but the one I'm referring to is the one at the World Book Fair in Delhi, where this book was launched. The book I'm talking about is it's this book. Okay, it's this book, which was launched in the World Book Fair in Delhi in sometime in February, I think. So two distinguished individuals I won't name, major figures, highly regarded, especially one of them among the top scholars in Sanskrit and our tradition and the topics we were talking about. And I asked him the question, why don't we have a Vedic social sciences which takes on the same issues as the Western social sciences and addresses them from a Vedic point of view and relevant for today, and discussed and pedagogy and courses and in the syllabus and all of that stuff. Who is doing Vedic social sciences? And I wanted to have a discussion and debate with these two persons. Now, one of them says this is a very important raise. You always raise in new issues and provocative issues. I'm glad you raised it. I wish you had told us before because we would have come prepared. But we really don't have an answer to it. That's what she said. So I thought she was being very honest, because everywhere I go and I talk to the experts of our Varna Jaati type topics, I ask them, where is today's Vedic social sciences? It's not good enough to criticize that the others have misinterpreted. Okay, fine, they have misinterpreted. And then it's not enough to say their social sciences are no good because look, they're having all kinds of problems in their society. Fine, that is also fine to say, but it's not enough. It is necessary, but not sufficient. So what you have to do is say, here is our Vedic social sciences. Here is our Vedic social science, not what was said in the Mahabharata and other places, but for today, addressing today's issues. Where is our social sciences? And this other person, for one person, she said, okay, I kind of give up. I'm not ready. We need to think. The other guy got very defensive. He's an elder. He's my elder. I treat him as an elder brother. I have tremendous respect for him on a personal level. And I'm very grateful for so much I've learned from him. But on this issue, he totally stumped. And his answer was, we do not need theory because we practice all these things. It's living. And he gave one example after another, going on telling me, look at how women are respected. Look at how, this guy became the lower caste person became president. And he gave all these examples. And I said, listen, I'm not looking for practice. I'm looking for where is the theoretical framework for today. Where is today's Dharma Shastra as today? That would be like the Constitution or something like that, and other codified things. And he kept saying that practice is what matters, and codifying frameworks is not relevant. So this is where the debate starts. Please, the debate starts on whether practices are enough and whether you need codification also or not. And I reminded him, I said, you are one of the experts of Ashtadhyayi. You are the expert on Sanskrit grammar, which is a codification of structure. People can be speaking Bhasha perfectly. And there are a lot of people who speak a certain language, but they don't know its grammar. They haven't studied its grammar. So you could argue that we don't need grammarians. We don't need grammar at all. We don't need the whole science of grammar at all because people are speaking and practicing correctly. The point is you need grammar. Otherwise, why did Panini work and develop the grammar? And why is there a long tradition of grammars? And why are you teaching grammar if it's not even necessary? And another example I gave is that, Natya Shastra is a codification of practices. But you can say that we don't need Natya Shastra as a text. We don't need it as a theory because there are a lot of people who practice dance. And there are a lot of people, dancers, who practice dance very nicely. So why would you have so much respect for the structure of grammar, the structure of Natya Shastra, the structure of the whole Ayurveda is how do you codify body types into different doshas and all that stuff. You could say, look, we got enough doctors who treating people and we don't need to have any structure. But it doesn't work like that. You do need structure. So I went discipline after discipline. I said the whole Sankhya theory is a theory of cosmology, taxonomy of the structure of the cosmos. Why you need all that? You just do good, avoid bad, do your agamas, do your practices, do your good karma. Why do you need to understand structures? And why have the Brahmins worked so hard for thousands of years to preserve these structures, memorize them, and transmit them to the next generation, and make sure they are not lost? Why? Why is it necessary? And why does a guy like you, who is so much teaching all his life about Sanskrit, which is full of Shastra, and Shastra is all about structures and taxonomies and so on. And our ancestors were the greatest taxonomers of the world. Their structuring, their frameworks in one domain after another was unparalleled. We started creating formal structures of all kind of systems, long before the Greeks, and much better than any of those guys did, until recent times, until the Europeans came and learned these things. They learned Ashtadhyayi and they started developing grammar of European languages. And they started, so this business of understanding structures, formal systems, codification from the Indian tradition is a major contribution of our civilization. How can you say to me that we do not need social structure theory for today? How can you say that? And of course, this was getting to be, I don't have all of this part of the conversation in the video. I cut it out because I didn't want to spoil my relations, since I really respect these people. But the point I'm making to you is that we do not have a Vedic social sciences as a structure, as a Dharma Shastra for today, starting with constitution and many other things. You can keep blaming that constitution has got this error, that error, that error. But where is your document which you propose? Can you give me one? Can you give me a PDF and saying, that's my Vedic constitution for today that I have and I want to debate it, at least get the conversation started. So if not at the level of constitution, at the level of other social structures, at various other kind of policy social structures, we ought to be able to debate. But nobody has produced these. We keep having this manthan and that manthan, and we all congratulate each other. We blame, we either defend our past, which we should, or blame others for doing bad things, which also we should, okay, because you have to play defense and offense. You have to be reactive and proactive. You have to do that, a multifaceted way to play a game and fight a war. You have to do all that. But you cannot avoid having the development of Vedic social sciences. Why is it not being done? Not even a project. I don't see any HRD ministry. I don't see any ICE. I went to ICSSR, Indian Council of Social Science Research. And I talked about my book. One of the book launches were done there. That video will just come out. We're just finishing the editing. It's been over a month. We haven't put it out there. And the chairman, dear friend of mine and amazing person, was sitting there. And I asked him the same question. I said, does ICSSR have a Vedic social sciences that you can propose? You can stand up and say, this is my tutorial. Not a history book. Not a book of what happened in the past. Not a book of practices today that our society today has got these practices, but a codification, a taxonomy, a structure, a formal system of a theory. Like Marxism is a theory. Like wokeism is a theory. There is a lot of formality in this theory, a lot of claims you can disagree with, but it is something that is deep in the academy because it's a formal system. And we are the people who are known for developing formal systems, but we haven't created one yet. So anyway, so that is I will raise some of the issues now before I close. I want to just leave with you what are some of the questions this social theory should address. It's not a simple matter of reciting the past and quoting cut paste from here and there and say, okay, that is our Vedic social theory. That may have been in the past. But as Manu says, and many of the Dharma Shastras say, the Smritis have to be redone for every era. That is what I'm talking about. We need a 21st century, 2023 year Smritis on social sciences for today, addressing all the issues. So I will raise some issues. In wokeism, they attack meritocracy. they say that the concept of merit has been, what is the criteria for merit? What makes a certain student eligible to get into Harvard over another student or IIT? IITs have been attacked the same way. What is the concept of merit to advance in the military or whatever? This the idea of meritocracy has been constructed by the elites, by the aristocrats, by the oppressors of past. They oppressed through structures. It's one thing to oppress personally, that you bring your slave and you whip him. Okay, that's a crude oppression. But a more sophisticated oppression is that you're very nice to him. You're not in any physical sense being mean to him, or a servant in India, or a Dalit in India, or men doing it to women, or whatever it is. You are very sophisticated, nice, pleasant, and all that, but you have structures, rules, frameworks, okay? And these are through which you do your oppression. And this meritocracy is one of those. This is a very, very big thing. This is so huge in the United States. It's coming to India through HR departments, through Microsoft India, through Google India, through Apple, Facebook, and through all the outsourcing. They are going to start requiring that the outsourcing company has to comply with DEI policies. DEI is diversity, equity, inclusion policies made in the United States by these think tanks that are these ultra-liberal, left-wing, ultra-left. They're not liberal in my sense of the word liberal. They're quite illiberal because they're not open to free speech and discussion, debate, and all that. They start abusing you and canceling you. But they are ultra-left-wing and Marxists, what I've called Marxism 4.0. So these guys are entrenched in the corporate America. And how they got in is another story. You should read my book to figure out how they got in, how they used the Black Lives Matter movement to just get in the door because of the guilt that people were facing, the white guilt. So they are in the door. They are in the universities. They are in the think tanks. They are in the Congress. The US Congress has got a lot of these people, including some Indians who are congressmen, congresswomen, and they are all wokeist type people. So this thing is coming to India. So this business, this anti-meritocracy, it's a battle for meritocracy, by the way. So we have another book called The Battle for IITs, which is the war over meritocracy in Varna. So what do Vedic social sciences have to say about meritocracy? This is a very important question, because it has to do with equity. Equality and equity are different things, and I want to know what is the Vedic position. What should it be in light of today? Equality says that everybody has equal rights and equal chance to compete, and some will beat others. Okay, so taller people will get more, basketball place in the teams, and shorter people won't. Some who got muscle to run fast will get into athletics more than others. And similarly, in free competition, though, people who are good in science and math and all that, they'll get jobs, they'll become professors, they'll get into all the tech companies, and it'll be open competition. That's meritocracy. And it's equality. Equity is different. Equity says that if you allow equality based on this meritocracy, you're going to create a society of unequal people in terms of identity. There won't be enough blacks, there won't be enough Dalits, there won't be enough LGBTQ, there won't be enough women, there won't be enough Muslims. So all those protected classes have to be artificially raised, because to counter all the structural abuse of the past thousands of years. So it's like reparations. This is not financial reparations in the sense you write a check of $5 trillion and say we're giving you reparations. This is reparations through countering meritocracy with a counter movement of equity. Equity is a system of reparations. Please understand that. I'll repeat. Equity is a system of reparations being sold to those who are guilt-ridden, and it's been sold to whites in this country very successfully, and now being exported to India very successfully. So what is Vedic social science for today approach to merit and equity and equality? Now, it's not very straightforward, because if you say that in the Jati system, like there was this tsunami in Nagapattinam village in Tamil Nadu in I think 2004 or 5 or something like that, or I've forgotten the year, but I went there with Swami Dayanand Saraswati asked me to go there, and I spent 4 or 5 months, and we set up a whole Chatralaya, and it was very important, project right there in Nagapattinam village, Serudur village. If you go there, there's a whole foundation stone that I installed there. So I went there to understand the more than just tsunami, but I wanted to understand society and culture and jatis. And I found that even among the fishermen, there are many jatis. Some go do deep sea fishing and some do shallow fishing, and they don't compete. This is very important. Some do river fishing, some do sea fishing near the coast, some do sea fishing deep. And they have different boats depending on the kind of place you are going to fish. The freshwater boat is different than the deep sea boat, and the shallow boat, the near the coastline boat is different. And the amount of hooks and the size and how many men have to be there and what kind of nets they use, the whole physical infrastructure, the capital is different for different jatis because they specialize in different kinds of work. And therefore they don't compete. I had a lot of these sessions, some of them are on the video, where I asked them, why don't you catch this guy's fish? He said, no, he catches that fish, I catch this fish. We are friends, we are collaborators. So this idea that you are not into a free market system, but you are kind of dividing the market into different types of functions, different type of roles. Even among fishermen, there's different categories of fish, and they'll do their fishing, we do our fishing. Now, this means that the competition, meritocracy is within your particular category. Okay, within my category, the type of work I do, I will compete with others, but I'm not going to go across the line and compete in this guy's area because we don't do that. That's the pragmatics of jati coexistence today. A lot of it has to do with professional, kind of a non-compete clause, if you think of it that way, with each other. So how do we feel about that? If we have a Western style capitalism, free market system, then you will have in a world of equality, some people will go way up and become billionaires and all, others will not even have enough food. So what do we do? So the must response is to have equity and force the dismantling of all these structures. What's the Vedic response to this? Do we believe that we should have equity, or do we believe that we should have free market competition and equality? Or are we saying that neither of them is good, we have our own solution? If we have our own solution, then we ought to propose what that solution is. And I haven't seen that being proposed. So this comes back to the issue that the lady, Dr. Kannan, before me raised, which is very important. What is the purpose of life? And is it non-violence? Are we optimizing non-violence? And then we have a whole social structure. Then the whole Vedic social sciences should be built on how to optimize non-violence, or are we optimizing something else? In other words, what is the cosmic purpose in which I as a person fit in? And my dharma has to be such that I am playing my role as part of this big cosmic process, which has a certain goal. I need to know what the goal is. Because the Western system in capitalism, its goal is, you want to maximize consumerism, and that's called per capita consumption, and that equates to lifestyle and happiness and material well-being, and that's what we're trying to maximize, and that is reaching some limits. Now, China has a whole different idea. China does not believe that in the individual's maximization is what matters. They believe that the collective nation is more important, and the individual's freedom is subservient. Therefore, he should not have democratic rights because it'll lead to chaos like in India. It'll lead to all this nonsense and too much politics and too many elections and people fighting each other and kind of, even in the United States. China is laughing at all this, saying that this whole system of democracy is going to fail because what you need is a rule of the intellectual elite, and the most competent people, the best people in society should be the leaders, like they would argue. I mean, if I don't like China's behavior for sure, But I just want to play devil's advocate and tell you what they would say. They would argue things like the captain in the team decides. It's not a democratic decision. All the 11 players don't make a vote and decide now what to do next. It's the captain. So it is a top-down power structure. And in a military, the generals decide. The commanding officer decides. You don't take a vote of all the Jawans to decide what to do. And similarly, in your corporate structure, in the directors, the board members, and the management and the executive, they make decisions. You don't have the entire factory floor, everybody voting, and coming up with decisions. So this business of democracy doesn't work in sports, and it doesn't work in military, it doesn't work in business. Why do you think it will work in society and in governance? Why do you think that everybody, every human being, educated, uneducated, whatever, all kind, is equal in terms of their ability to govern and their policy making inputs and so on? That's a stupid idea, they will say. They will say that this equity, democracy is based on the principle that everybody should have equity of political rights, and they're saying that that is not correct, because based on merit, if you have decision making, government decision making based on merit, some people merit more authority and more rights because they're smarter, and therefore it should be a rule of the smart people. That is what China's argument is. So what is our argument? Do we have the capitalist argument, the Western argument, which is in trouble? Do we have the Chinese argument? We are a kind of a democracy, Western democracy, which is not an Indian system, by the way. It is not an Indian system. So I want to say right away, you can't say we are living this and that, and we are great, and we are 5,000-year-old, and we are practicing whatever. The point is, India's constitution is not a Vedic system. It is not a Vedic system. You do not find this kind of a thing happening in the Vedic times. So this is a provocative statement I'm making. Now let me make it even more provocative. I think that as an artificial intelligence person, I am faced with a dilemma. The Vedic person in me, the person who's meditating all his life, the person whose goal is to raise consciousness and understand what the rishis understood for myself, not having to rely on books and third person and second person accounts, but my own experiences. As somebody who's been doing that and who believes that that is the future of humanity, I have to confess that the other part of me, which is the artificial intelligence scientist in me, has to come to the conclusion that AI is a very big deal. AI is serious. AI is not something futuristic or science fiction. It is happening. It is happening faster than most people think. And it is creating intelligence which is superior to human intelligence in many domains. Not all domains, but in many domains. And the number of domains where it's becoming better and better than human beings is increasing. I mean, it's not just that it can recognize faces and voices better than us and write an essay like ChatGPT and all that stuff very quick and all that. Those are just a few things. But what's coming in the pipeline in the next 2 years, 5 years, certainly in this decade, is absolutely mind-boggling. And that is what I want to talk about right now. Its social implications. So in AI, you have machine learning, which means that, which is modeled after human learning. They call it neural networks for a reason, because people don't understand, neuroscientists don't understand how the brain works, but we understand a little bit of it. We've done enough experiments, maybe we understand 5% or 10% of how the brain really works. So to the extent that we understand how the brain works, how neuroscience works, the computer science people are replicating that, and they call that neural networks and all that stuff. How to learn from experience, and how you have these data sets, and and the experience tells you do this, don't do that. So when you're teaching a car how to drive or whatever, through every decision made, you get feedback that tells the algorithm, how to optimize for future. Next time, do it better. It's like a child learning to walk. So the child gets up and it falls, and unconsciously, the muscle memory is learning. The muscle memory has learned that I did this and I was not successful. And the child will try a little bit different, and then he'll fall. And then eventually he will manage to stand up for 3 seconds. And his muscle memory records that, okay, that was a good move. And then it'll keep learning and become better and better. So the child learning, human learning, is sort of being replicated into machine learning to learn through experience, which is why a wide diversity of data which India has, and India is stupidly just giving it away, that's another story. But the diversity of data is like the diversity of experiences. You put a human being through many, many experiences. He's a cricket player who played many kind of games against many kind of bowlers and many kind of pitches and weather conditions, and he becomes a good player. So this is machine learning happening. Now, the thing about machine learning is that AI people acknowledge that machines are learning intelligence in isolated domains. So the algorithm that has been trained to drive a car and the algorithm that is going to be trained to do surgery different. It's not a general purpose. So there is no general purpose AI. There is special purpose AI. This is the current state of affairs. So can we say this is like each special purpose AI is like a Varna? It's like a Varna. It's a domain of expertise. And this domain, it kind of specializes. And over time, over many generations of usage, it becomes better and better. So we have like an AI Varna system, in a sense, you might sort of say that. But then there is this business called, we are all moving towards general AI, general purpose AI, which means that the dream of all these guys in this technology is that, we will soon have, one day we will have a kind of an AI system which is learned to be everything. I mean, then this same algorithm can do whatever, anything that has to be done. So that leads to the Vedic question, social science question. Is Varna partitioning obsolete? Can I be a Brahmin and Kshatriya and Vaishya, all Varnas at the same time? Or have I to be only one? Well, in practice, actually, I am all four. I get up in the morning and I clean my office. That's a Shudra kind of work. Or I do some hands-on labor work. And I manage my investments to pay my bills as a retired guy. And I'm a Vaishya. I go to conferences, meetings, and how to invest and whatnot. I'm a Kshatriya. I go out and fight like hell. I go and fight all kind of people. And I'm a Brahmin. I do research. I do thinking and write books and whatnot. So I am a multi-Varna guy. Am I violating? I ask these questions. These are important questions. So is the Purush Sukta, this is the provocative thing, is the Purush Sukta obsolete? Is it obsolete? Or do we have to reinterpret it in some very dramatic way that does not classify society into isolated? Like the feet are separate from the head. It is not that the head and the feet are together, and otherwise they either get out of the analogy, or if you want to use the analogy, then you use it accurately. But if you use it accurately, they are mutually exclusive parts. They're interconnected. They're certainly interdependent. And there is no hierarchy among them. That I agree. I mean, feet are not inferior just because they're physically lower. Without feet, you can't move around. And what's the benefit of having a brain without being able to be mobile? So I agree there is interdependency among the Varnas in the Purush Sukta, but now are we approaching, in the age of general AI, are we approaching multi-Varna beings? Are we approaching humanoid 2.0, which may have implants in your brain? They may have all this general purpose AI as part of the human being, a few of the future. And so now this person is going to be, very all-purpose. And do we say that this business of Varna is obsolete? Do we say that or not? If we say, no, it's not obsolete, what's our counter to it? What's the Vedic theory? What's the Vedic social science that will be compliant with AI? And then the final thing, a final provocation I want to give you is that China has created a very controversial social credit system. It is controversial. People say it's violating the human rights of the Uyghur Muslims. And for those of you who don't know, social credit means that there is surveillance of everything you're doing. Everything, there's cameras everywhere, and then you cross a traffic light, it registers this guy crossed a traffic light. You break the line in a queue somewhere, or you do some good deed, you help somebody in trouble, or you whatever. So everything, every action you do, every post you make, all your emails, all your conversations, all your movements are tracked by an invisible or visible kind of a monitoring system, surveillance system. And this is super AI, and is learning and keeping track of what to think of you, what is your profile, how to predict what you may do next. China is mastering that. And China is exporting this to other dictatorial countries like Zimbabwe, Zambia, and a few other countries that have done, case studies. Pakistan, they are exporting this to the ISI in Pakistan to help them manage the country by giving them surveillance data about their enemies and how these enemies are moving around, political enemies, and so on and so forth. And there are some rumors that India are doing it, but let's not get into that. I don't know if they're doing it or not, and it's not relevant for this conversation. The point is that China is leading the world in social credit management system of society, and it is like their social credit as a kind of a government karma system. They are managing. It is not Bhagwan's karma, but President Xi's idea of good and bad things being monitored, tracked, and rewards and punishment given accordingly. So this is like replacing the natural karma system with this new kind of a AI karma system. Okay, so now you might say that, hey, those are bad guys, and we are following America, and this is the land of democracy and freedom, and we don't believe in all this shit. But we do. United States of America is doing the same thing. The private sector is doing it because Google is doing it, and Facebook is doing it, and Twitter is doing it. They're tracking you, and they're deplatforming some guy, and they're boosting this guy's views because he's good, and this other guy is violating what they call community standard, which they never define, which there is no place where I can go and debate and argue that about community standards. It's some algorithmic thing that I have no access to. I have no rights to argue with that. And this algorithm is a devata, and its word is final. And so they are doing this social credit system. All these social media people are doing social credit system. The banking, when they're doing your credit rating, I get this credit karma rating, your rating is this much, that much, and how to improve your credit card rating and all that is a social credit system. The legal reports, you can do somebody's background check and it'll tell you all kind of things about them. That's a social credit system. And these are all being networked and interworked. And then there's the government secret social credit system of tracking all kind of things. So in China, it is being done officially and done in one system. Okay. In the United States, the Google got its system, and Facebook got its social credit system, and Bank of America and Chase Manhattan Bank got their social credit system, and the government got its social credit system, and on and on. So there is social credit system, except it's decentralized, but there is in the United States. So China is doing it, United States is doing it. So like there is the future AI is leading to a future kind of human being, humanoid 2.0, who may be multi-varna. Similarly, you are having a new AI-based karma replacement, which is at the societal level. Okay, so that is also part of this new social sciences that we need to develop. So what is the Vedic social sciences in response to all these challenges that are talked about? That is my project, and I welcome those who want to work with me, help me, whatever, off the record, just contact me and we can do something. And I want to thank you for putting up with the long talk I gave, but I wanted to just get this out, and thank you for inviting me, and I'm so delighted to be a part of this conversation. Namaste and Jai Shri Ram.
Namaste. Harikiran Garu.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rajiv. Simply very, very insightful, and we have been following your work and the trajectory of your work for quite some time, and the questions that you've raised, and now how you're leading this up to, from the perspective of Vedic perspective, Vedic social sciences, and Vedic perspective, and the challenges that and the lens that we have to adopt in addressing these issues. Very, very provocative, like you said, and something for us to think about. I will definitely connect with you offline. I just wanted to mention that Nagaraj Garu has been pioneering some effort on Vedic social sciences for the last few years, both at the MIT SVS in Pune, as well as at INDICA. We have a platform, INDICA courses, that's being led by Dimple. where we have conducted courses on Indic cultural and anthropology and Indic social sciences research. So there has been some effort that we have made. And perhaps if a conversation between you and Nagaraj, a separate conversation on your platform would be something I really look forward to. Nagaraj, would you like to respond?
Yes, certainly. I was about to do that, and thank you for giving me a lead to that. Rajiji, we had a series of talks on a topic called humanities to human sciences. Those talks were actually about how the history of discipline taxonomy in the university system, how it ultimately led to the untouchable school called School of Humanities. The School of Humanities was left non-sciences. So we wanted to show how actually we have sciences for everything that is covered under what is covered under humanities in the present university system. So how we can turn the present schools of humanities into schools of human sciences, and also dharma-based social sciences, where actually my argument is that dharma-based social sciences is a natural science-based social sciences, because actually it is an ecological social sciences. In ecological social sciences, ecology is a natural science product. So dharma is, if you're talking about, for example, the present jurisprudence is having environmental law as one of the laws, but dharma is an environmental law based jurisprudence. So environmental law is the foundational law there. So how these things happen, and all these things we have been discussing in various levels, at various levels. Those talks which are already recorded, probably we could share with you, and there's a lot of discussion already going on at the level of Vedic social sciences. The issues that you raised about equity, how exclusion is not unequitable, how equity and exclusion have to be linked, and how equanimity is a solution for equity in Vedic social science theory. All those have been discussed at various levels in various platforms. I think the task now is to gather all of them together into some coherent theory as a Vedic social science theory.
I think one thing, Rajiv, there are two steps that are actually there. One is bridging it from the past to what we call as a Western knowledge system. That's the first stage. But the point that you are raising is the advanced stage, which is the problems that we are having, which even a Western knowledge system doesn't have a solution. So
Right.
you are actually ahead of the curve in terms of the challenges that you're posing.
Right.
You're saying, okay, bridging is one aspect.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, what do we do? I mean, the way you're
I'm thinking. Yeah, actually, you're absolutely, you hit the nail on the head, and Hariji, I'm so delighted. I'm actually leapfrogging ahead. I'm saying that now is the time we have to create a social science for the future, which the West doesn't have, which China is claiming to have created. China is claiming to have created a social science. I'll tell you whether you like it morally or not. The point is there is consistency. There's consistency of their behavior and their theory and their ideology. I talk to a lot of Chinese who are well versed and entrenched into the new Chinese establishment, and I interact with some of them, and they are very clear. They are very clear on the alternative to democracy, alternative to dictatorship. It's something in between, and it is compliant with the new technologies of human beings with implants in them and social credit systems. So they are, I would say, among all the, whether you like it or not, maybe there are enemies. I certainly don't like their border behavior and all that stuff, but they are ahead of the curve in terms of futuristic thinking, because they have understood it. They are not denying it. They are not into wokeism. They are not going back in time like the United States are going sort of backward in meritocracy. China is going forward. They want to be the most meritocracy country in the world. So I think that we as the Vedic people have some work to do. And we really have some work to do. And that is what my next set of works will be that I'm working on wanting to publish. And I'm quite far along in my thinking, done a lot of the writing, and I'm going to make some fairly groundbreaking statements and theories in my future work. Of course, it'll upset a lot of people also. But I think it is important to do that and not just be reactive to others, criticize us, attack us, and then we defend ourselves. I think we've become very defensive. I have been defensive as part of my Purva Paksha to learn, so that I can then take it forward ahead of them, beat them supersede them, and go ahead of these guys. That's the game I'm playing.
Yeah, but again, Rajiv, you've been at it for almost 3 decades. In terms of getting to the practical aspect of the resources, the capabilities and the resources, I remember you took a lot of flack when you complained about our Shastra Pandits not understanding what's happening in the West. This was 10, 15 years back. But now we understand that you were right. You proved right on that. How do we bridge? You are privileged because you're privileged. I'm using the word privilege. I'm sorry about that. I'm saying you are coming from a scientific background, from an engineering background. You're a successful entrepreneur. So you have an entrepreneurial technology background. Then you went back into understanding our scriptures and the landscape of the Kurukshetra around you. And therefore, you're able to imagine these things. How do we bridge this? We don't have the capability. How do I bridge a Vedic scholar who is still not approaching the global knowledge systems and the global Kurukshetra? And how do I advance a solution? How do I do it? That's the challenge that really.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is, I'm 73. That's one more challenge you have to write down. And I don't have that much time, so I have to also transfer.
The last time we discussed, you said I'm going to live till 85. So you have 15 years.
Okay, so I may, who knows? But the thing is this: I have to, and I have started transferring this to the next generation. And I will tell you, we have 15 people in India, and we can't afford more payroll. That's the resource limit we have. So I would say there are 7 or 8 individuals, the young people. They came up with this book, 10 Heads of Ravana, as one example of this. But we are doing many, many things, and I'm getting this social sciences is another project that I'm working on together with these people. So some of them have been minimum. They've been with me 5 years, and some of them have been with me for 8, 9 years. Full time, and we don't. This is not a weekend job. It's not a hobby. I hire them. So one thing I want more people. I want more young people that I will mentor. I will nurture. I will be on the phone. I'll be on Zooms and fly them here and spend time with them and help them become scholars and rigor and teach them all these things. I don't have the resources to expand my academy. I wish that my goal 20 years ago was that I would like to have trained 108 young scholars to replace me, to think like me and go beyond me. Not just quick guys who want to do a YouTube talk and become a YouTube influencer and get some views and make some tamasha, but I want deep scholars. And the point is, one of the things that you will see my scholars have not done is go out in public and become celebrities and give talks here and there. Very limited, they do that. The reason is that I don't want external forces pulling them away from deep scholarship and into becoming social media celebrities and giving lectures and talks and mantrans. That is not how they will become successful. This is a Brahmin culture, good habit that we are practicing, that you have to be kind of introverted and really inside you and not be looking for limelight right away. And that will come later in life, but for the first many, many years, you are into studying. and researching and making contributions. So I'm looking for people with that type of personality, not the people who are interested in becoming a famous fellow in 2 years. Pick my brain, pick some one-liners here and there, and come up with a superficial spin and go out to the market with their own idea. I don't want those kind of people who are out to steal, rob ideas in a superficial level. People who are serious thinkers, who want to commit some years into this, I'm looking for them, and they need salary. They need salary because they, you know, my guys, like one guy is a B.Tech, M.Tech from IIT, and he's just making a very small amount of money just to manage himself. I need compensation of a modest level, enough for them to live a decent life, but not an extravagant life, certainly not market rate. And I would, if somebody would come and say, okay, we'll fund 5 salaries. And these are Indian salaries. They are not American salaries. We're not talking about people who make 6 figures and all. We're talking about people who make a modest young person's compensation. But I want them to be full-time. I want this to be somebody to sponsor a minimum 5 year. It's not 1 year, 6 month project. I will nurture them. I will mentor them. I would love to have more of these people than I currently have, because I have so many projects. And all these projects, I could make a little team, work with them, teach them how to do this, finish off this kind of project that I've started 20 years ago, finish it off and get them some experience. I would love to do that. And so if you're saying, how do we go about it? I would say, pick a model of success, and we are a model of success, and scale it. Rather than starting something new from scratch. Everybody wants to start their own new movement. Fine, they have a right to do that. But why not pick those who have produced outcome, large amount, quantity, quality of good, solid work, and give them funding so they can scale more. And so I'm not the only one, but I'm certainly saying we are one of the prime examples where we have produced results. And any venture capitalist, any angel investor in the technology world would say, this guy has produced he's a serial entrepreneur, he's produced success after success. Let's invest in him. So in the case of civilizational studies, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and there ought to be angel investors and venture capitalists who are willing to invest in this. And what I will do with it, not one penny is meant for me. Thankfully, I'm okay. I've looked after myself in my own retirement ways. I'm actually giving every year, but I need this money for my young people. I need to put them on. It's basically salary. So a person can say, okay, I will sponsor 1 person or 3 people or 5 people for next 5 years. Then you mentor them, you hire them, you look after them, and this is what I can do. So everybody should figure out what is theirs for dharma. This is at this stage in life. I am not looking for any appointment, job, this or that. I don't want any of that. If they offered it to me, I turn it down, because it will distract me from what I want to do. And this is nurturing new people, young people, making good people even better, and getting them to work on these very, very cutting edge problems, which are as you said, multi-dimensional, multidisciplinary. Across disciplines, very few people you will find who happen to have all these backgrounds already, and bringing these people together and cross-fertilizing, that's what I would like to do.
Yeah. I wish you all the best, Rajiv. You're
so much.
Leading light for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good luck to all you guys. You're doing great work, and let's continue our conversations. Thank you so much. And I would really like Dr. Kannan, who is here, to contact me, and I want to have a chat with her. I have some ideas that could be of use to her.
Yeah, she is a promising lady. She has already done good work in gender studies. Her earlier work is in gender studies. She worked on Akamahadevi, Andal.
And where is she based?
In US. Shushumna ji, please tell where exactly in US.
I live in San Diego, sir.
Oh, very good. I used to live in San Diego in the 1970s. I lived in San Diego. And I visit there once in a while. People still ask me, why the hell did you ever leave San Diego? And I still don't know. But I don't know. But anyway, you contact me, please. And I want to have a chat with you, because I have some things I could help,
Thank you.
You're onto something very nice.
Thank you.
So, thank you, everybody. I will take leave, and thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.